Welcome, everyone. This is episode 4 of a new YNAB podcast series, Debt Stories, Real People Beating Debt and Winning Financially. In today's show, we'll meet Daniel, who, along with his wife, paid off a formidable $30,000 of debt in just a little over 3 years. So, let's go back to the beginning. In 2011, Daniel and his wife were married. In 2012, they purchased their first home in Newburgh, a town just outside of Evansville, Indiana. And by 2015, they were greeting their newborn daughter.
We moved down here in 2012, and very shortly thereafter, we bought a house and did an FHA loan, which I think at the time was 3 or 3.5% down, which we actually had to get from my wife's family. So colossal mistake number one there.
A down payment of only 3% meant more mortgage to repay and, therefore, more time stuck with debt payments. And it was at about that time that Daniel started car shopping.
We had already been talking about, maybe having kids in a few years. So I sold the car I had for, barely what it was worth, ended up buying a sports car the guy lived in eastern Pennsylvania. He picked me up at the airport in the car. I gave him the cash. He directed me to the highway and I drove back home. Colossal mistake number 2 there.
He didn't actually have the cash, and since the car was older, Daniel didn't qualify for an auto loan. Instead, he had taken out a higher interest-bearing personal loan from the bank.
The total, I think, on the loan was maybe $4,000. I got home, made my first payment on that, and that's about the time it dawned on me that I had made, a mistake. So I kind of started thinking about, all right, how do I pay this off a little quicker? We were still kind of living paycheck to paycheck and not able to really pay any extra between a bunch of credit card debt. I think we had, close to $13,000 or maybe a little more in credit card debt at that time. Can I afford to buy this car was never a thought that really crossed my mind. It was, I need to have this car. I'll just make it work. Spoiler alert, I didn't need to have the car. Kind of carried on paying minimums on everything for a little while. Always kind of in the back of my mind was, we're not getting ahead. We're spending every cent that comes in. A lot of it's going to interest. What are we going to do?
In addition to paying their minimum debt payments, Daniel and his wife had a household to run, including the expense of their daughter's daycare while they were at work. They each earn a modest salary. Daniel's degree is in computer science.
I do QA. QA doesn't seem to be quite the great way to make money that actual, development, software engineering is, but it's plenty to pay the bills with.
His wife is a teacher.
She teaches high school. This year she's teaching chemistry, biology, and physics, I think.
Living paycheck to paycheck just wasn't cutting it. Reed, it was incredibly stressful. So Daniel's interest was piqued when he stumbled across YNAB.
I was actually on Steam, which is, the video game platform. And actually, YNAB popped up. It was part of the Steam sale in 2014 is when I bought it. And I had heard a little bit about it on the personal finance subreddit. People saying they'd used it before. And I was like, what the heck? We'll give this a try. Started reading just everything that was available on the website. And I was like, all right, this guy's making a lot of sense. So many arguments and adjustments later, started, being able to pull ourselves out of the hole. And it was mostly me kind of at the beginning reading all of this and kind of taking it in. And I didn't really involve her in the process until I had already started. I started kind of playing with numbers, and I was being the no, you can't do that guy.
Arguments, or as I like to call them, thorough discussions, can flare up a bit for couples that are brand new to budgeting, especially when one partner has to win over the other. But they always pay off. So,
we had a lot of good conversations and worked out how we can make this whole thing work, worked out a lot of problems and our hangups around money and really started making progress. My wife had to give up getting her hair and nails done as often as she liked, but we're working back toward that.
Of course, Daniel sacrificed some things too.
So I have a big obsession with really anything with a Nintendo label on it. Old video games, new video games, really anything in that realm. A long time ago, my brother got me into working on cars, and so I got a little bit into performance-related stuff, new wheels and upgraded suspension and exhaust. Old car I had, just had to have that new $900 turbo. So I gave up a lot of car and video game stuff in the meantime.
Even before they started using YNAB, the couple kept things simple with joint accounts.
We had one checking account, one savings account. Everything would go in there, and then we would just run that thing down by the end of the month.
As for savings, Daniel says,
if I remember correctly, that had about $50 in it, and that was it. That was all that it ever had.
And then there was their debt, the mortgage, the car loan, student loans, and their credit card, which, by this point, they were managing with their budget.
Grand total, I was looking at, about 13 from just credit cards starting out. By the time I really started gaining footing with YNAB, I think I had about 3 left on the card. We started doing biweekly payments on the house. We paid about an extra $3,000 to $3,500 there. More recently, just within the past 3 months, we paid off $12,000 worth of student loans, kind of not all in one go, but one chunk a month, about $4,000 a month.
You heard that right. They made 3 $4,000 monthly payments on the student debt. But how?
So we had been saving up because we wanted to kind of get on better footing with the house. Let's go crazy. Let's refinance to a 15-year loan while interest rates are still low. So we'd actually started saving up money because we weren't sure if we were going to be able to hit that, that magical 20% loan to home value ratio. Basically almost $10,000 just from any little windfall that would come in. So if she got a 3 paycheck month, that whole thing would go straight into saving. I got a bonus at work, so that would go straight into it. Then we'd save every month. Any little bit of extra cash would go straight toward that. Right before we started refinancing, we got a letter in the mail from the county assessor, and our home value had actually shot up.
With the increase in their home's value, Daniel and his wife were able to reach a 20% loan-to-value ratio, which enabled them to refinance on better terms with a 15-year loan. So they went for it.
We didn't end up having to put anything into it, so we just had, almost $10,000 at that time just sitting around. You know what? Let's chop off one of these loans. So I picked the highest interest one and killed that. Then the next month, killed one more because we still had enough money left over to do that. And then we got a check in the mail from our previous mortgage servicer, our escrow refund, which I had completely forgotten about. And that put us over enough to be able to kill one more loan. And that put us at super close to 12. That all totaled up to right about $30,000. I mean, it seems insane because, we just started using YNAB in June of 14. So a little over 3 years.
The unexpected $12,000 was a great start, most certainly. But now let's hear how Daniel and his wife cut back to pay off the full $30,000.
We generally have the air conditioning off unless it's absolutely unbearable. Things are a little sweaty in our household. We live technically outside city limits. Trash service costs us, I want to say $25, $30 a month. Canceled that, and I take the trash to the dump myself. So other than that, we drop our cable. We do internet only now. We used to have unlimited data on Verizon, and that was actually one of the first things to go. We've cut that down to about $55 a month for the two of us combined, where it used to be, I think, about $160 or $170. We canceled a gym membership because we weren't using it enough, and that was close to $70 a month. We used to eat out all the time. We would easily spend $300 to $400 a month just on dinners for the two of us. We kind of stopped going to movie theaters. Now it's Netflix or Redbox. People I work with think I've either gone insane or that I've joined some sort of cult by doing the budget. And they like to jokingly invite me out for lunch every couple of days. Be like, "Hey, Dan, can you go out to lunch? Or is that not in the budget?" And I go, "Nope, not in the budget."
They also mind their grocery budget.
So we try to keep it around $500 for 2 adults and a small child. We're doing okay with that. We generally will have some left over at the end of the month that I will roll toward debt payoff or something like that to try to keep from inflating it too much.
Still, Daniel and his wife have agreed that some things are non-negotiable.
We have fast internet. We have new phones. Basically, we refuse to give up anything that would directly benefit our daughter. So, she does tumbling classes right now. Us saying we don't have enough money is not an option. Our guilty pleasure is we still have Amazon Prime. Prime Day got a little expensive in our household. So I'm actually doing this from our dining room, and I can look across to the kitchen and I see an Instant Pot right now, which we actually got this year on Prime Day.
They're still paying off their home and have about $37,000 of student loans to repay, which Daniel estimates will take another 4 years. But things are looking up. As Daniel explains, their efforts are snowballing. Now, they aim to keep a cushion in the checking account, and they were even able to pay cash when a household emergency popped up.
But yeah, after, cutting all those expenses back and finding 1,000 places to save $1, we kind of started to make some headway, free up, one credit card payment's gone. So that just freed up a little more that can snowball into the next one and into the next. And it very quickly gets kind of out of control to where we were able to start actually saving. And, when the new roof popped up, wasn't the end of the world. I would have much rather just thrown that straight at student loans, but a leaky roof's got to be taken care of. We try to keep at least 10,000 in checking. We're fully buffered. Age of money right now is 50 days.
With a load of debt gone and an age of money of 50 days, life is feeling a lot sweeter these days.
Oh yeah, it's night and day. I still have worries in life, but none of them are money related. Now I worry about having enough saved up for my daughter's, college education, or being able to make fun family memories while she's young.
Decreased financial stress has made their marriage happier too. Money conversations are
completely different. We have our budget meeting, and I try to budget mainly on the weekends or right after a payday. And so, I'm basically in charge of the budget, but she has essentially veto power on whatever.
Daniel says that the biggest mindset shift was realizing just how much every bit counts.
It's not about finding one place to save $100. You try to find 100 places to save $1. If you can find a place to cut, then that's a place where you can use that money to move yourself ahead in life, as opposed to, what we used to do. We would say, hey, we have an extra $30. Well, let's treat ourselves. Try to think of extra money coming in as something we can use to improve our lot in life instead of, another place to spend.
If you are feeling overwhelmed by debt, Daniel's advice is
just keep at it. Just rule 3 it until you make it through. Just roll with the punches. So, we started out barely making it by. I think we both had a salary in the mid 30,000 range. Every time you get a little bit more money, instead of thinking, I deserve this or I need this, think, how can I use this to put myself in a better position?
The most important thing is to just get started. Life is full of unexpected twists, and some of them will be in your favor. When you're actively working towards paying off debt, you'll be positioned to make the best use of any windfalls.
Yeah. And so, every time we find a way to move ourselves forward, seems like a new door opens and we find another way to move forward a little bit more.